Welcome back to another episode of the I'm Not a Hater podcast featuring your favorite not hater, Mr. BORWN, Mr. Brown. Back to speak on another topic that can be considered near and dear to me, and that is fatherhood. Now, before I actually get started with the actual topic, I just want to say, once again, salute to everybody that's been tuning in, liking and sharing and commenting on the clips and full length episodes that you see before you. I definitely appreciate it. Definitely want to say, your support is definitely valuable to what I'm doing. It allows me to realize that, somebody is listening and I'm not just making these videos just for myself. Um, and also, a disclaimer, I guess you could say, like, I'm no expert at this topic of what you call fatherhood. Like, I'm no genius at it. And even though, people may say like, "Oh, you're a great dad" or "You're a good dad," um, sometimes I struggle. Sometimes I don't feel as though I'm doing a great job, right? In all honesty, sometimes I feel like I could do better in some situations, and sometimes my nature may not even be right for what needs to go on in fatherhood, but I continue to try to do the best that I can, and try to raise, of course, raise my two sons the best way possible. Um, and also, I know there's a lot going on in the world. By the time you probably see this, the TikTok ban has happened. CapCut, I believe, too, has been banned. Plenty of things going on in the world. I did see one lady's um, reaction to everything that said like the government got together to ban social media, but they can't get together to fix all the issues that go on in the world. And truthfully, she made a valid point. Um, if the Democrats and Republicans can find a way to get together to ban social media because of quote unquote propaganda, they can find a way to come together to get, great education for your children, healthcare lowered, all the things that we're looking for in America at this point in time. So that's just my take on that. I won't go any further. I'll just, get right into fatherhood and why fathers are definitely important. Okay. So, a little backstory about myself, right? I grew up in what you would call a single parent household. My dad was present, um, but he did, my mom primarily raised me by herself. And so, like I said, at times when I feel like I'm not capable of being a quote unquote great dad, it's because truthfully, I didn't really have a example, right? Like I know I talk about my grandfather in high esteem. I talk about Gary Wright, my uncle, and even my dad, right? Later on in life, right? We got rolling, and once we started rolling, it was off and running. But as far as me like being a dad, I didn't have an example. I didn't see my grandfather raise his kids, right? They were all grown when I came along. And he was the best grandfather in the world. Um, you know, I watch people raise their kids. I kind of just take bits and pieces of stories that I've heard and things and kind of put it together to make what you would call a dad. But I realized that, dads, fathers, etc., we are important in the role of our children, in the roles that we play, whether good or bad. Because if it goes all bad, your kid's gonna struggle in the world. To be completely honest, um, and if it goes good, you raise them to the best of your ability. You hope and pray that they become great, morally upstanding people in the world. And you know, like I said in the first episode, your job is never done. You just switch it up. You go from being overly dominant to giving advice when necessary, when needed, when called upon, and you kind of just move that way. At least that's how I do it. Now, some people may do it differently, and you talk to five fathers, you're gonna get five different answers. I kid you not. So, the first reason that I believe that fathers are important, fathers are the first role models. From the first guide, from the father, the sons learn hard work, empathy, love, compassion, and the daughters will see what they look for in a future mate. Now, They'll see how to make families work. They'll see how, as far as daughters go, right? That if the dad is with the mom or with another lady, they see how that's supposed to go. They see how that works, working together to make things go. Okay. Now, like I said before, me personally, I didn't have this. I saw it with my grandparents. I saw it with my uncle and my aunt. Big shout out to them. And I just saw it in like many different people. But I saw how, the husband did what they were supposed to do. The father, that role they took it very seriously. They did what they need to do, and the kids and the wife, they follow suit. Right? Everybody worked together for the common goal of making a great family. The second thing, the father often provides guidance for the children, right? Teaching them how to act accordingly, conduct themselves in the world. Especially for males these days, this is very important because, as we know, young males of color, um, the world isn't too kind to them. So, most times they need that fatherly example of how to deal with it if they dealt with that type of adversity. Now, again, I I'm pretty much a cautious, observant rule follower. If you ever saw one, um, my kids are growing up in a different time though, so I try to equip them the best that I can with ways to handle themselves when out in public, especially. Right, I have a son who's about to be 21 in a couple weeks. I have to tell him sometimes when you're out with your friends, you have to act, in a manner that won't necessarily bring attention. You're already going to bring attention because it's a group of, young African American males together, and that's already going to bring attention to the crowd. Don't necessarily draw extra attention, right? Teaching, my youngest son how to be himself, but also, you know, stand out, right? Because you have to stand out in the world, but to stand out in a good way, not necessarily a bad way. I'm offering that type of guidance because that's truthfully what was provided to me. I could stand out, I could be who I am, but I don't have to be overly, I guess you could say overly dramatic about it, right? I could be myself, I can, do what I need to do, but also still, be a great person or a good person at the end of the day. And to me, that's important. Like, let the kids be themselves, but offer them tips on how to handle when they're being themselves. Don't be too much. In my opinion, again, this is strictly my opinion. Some people may see this or hear it and not agree, and that's perfectly fine. This is how I'm choosing to impart my wisdom on my sons at this very moment. I could switch it up and do different things, but at this point, when I'm offering guidance, is to be yourself, not too much, but just enough so people know who you are. But be a good person at the same time, so that people, when they see you, they want to be around you. They love to see you coming instead of hate to see you coming and they go the other way. You know, um, and so that's always been important to me too. Being accepted, um, in all circles, right? You don't have to be, but if you are, that's an added plus. Number three, fathers allow their children to be risk takers. Now, this could go many different ways. Um, but this is difficult for me, right? Because I'm a careful person. But I encourage my kids to do different things within reason, of course. But I encourage them to take risks. They have to live a different life than I've lived, okay? So I lived my life cautious and all of that because of how I was raised. But I definitely said to myself growing up, like, when and if I had children, they would be able to do and try everything they wanted to try, right? I got a deaf, I'm afraid of heights. Kendall want to go on the zip line at the trampoline park, do it. I'm, Makai wanted to do music. He wanted to take it dead serious. I cautiously advised them, like, it's a difficult game, but at the same time, I wasn't going to hold them back. I was going to allow them to do the things that they need to do to have the life that they want to live eventually. And that's most important. Like, their life should be better than ours. Way, way better. And that, the last generation did the same thing. My dad wanted my life to be better than his. And he beams with pride when he see me doing things like this, because he, like he said, didn't expect me to do it because I'm not a talkative type of person like that. But you know like he said, you showing your intelligence, and he appreciates the fact that I'm doing it. So with that, he, basically, boom, take the risk, step out, try something. If it work, okay. If not, you can do something else. Just keep trying until you figure out your niche, and then go full steam once you got it. And I think, like I said, allowing the kids to be gamers and do all the YouTube stuff, and even help me out with the videos, like that's something that you know cautious me would have been like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not. But eventually, like, hey, they're gonna be exposed to it one way or the other. Just go try. If it, like I said, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And you just keep doing things until you get to something that you love, you enjoy, and you feel like you want to do it for the rest of your life. But take that risk first. And fathers allow children. Not saying that mothers don't, but this is a fatherly podcast at this point. Fathers allow their children to take certain risks that mothers quite possibly wouldn't. They hold them more tight to the vest at first. We kind of just throw them to the wolves. And then when they come back, we go, that's my boy or that's my girl, that kind of thing. Um, like I said, you're being with pride when they do something right, when they get something right. Um, you know, I'll give you a personal example. Like this past summer, Makai performed in Brooklyn. And I was extremely nervous, right? He was taking a risk though. He's had performances before, but this one was in a different, a different place. Like he was in Brooklyn, New York, and New York is notoriously hard on hip hop artists. And he's, performing drill music, as though I would call it, right? Drill rap. And I was nervous. Like when he got on stage and the beat dropped, I was shaking a little bit. But once he got into it in his own way, and the people kind of started vibing with him, I started to relax, and I was like, "Yo, look at my kid up there on stage doing this thing," and it brought, sense of pride. Like I didn't see it, being like this, but it is, and definitely proud of everything that he does and everything that he continues to do. And sometimes you just, and also, this is off topic, but let them know that you're proud of them. Let them know how you feel. Let them know that you love them. Don't ever think you got to be too hard, too tough to let them know that you really care. Because sometimes they definitely need to hear it, and it could catapult them to levels that you've never seen before when you let them know. Um, and that's something that I've experienced too. So definitely do that. Let them know how you feel. Let them know that they're loved and appreciated, and that you care a lot about them as a dad. And my last point for this video is fathers are the first superhero. It's a tough act to live up to. I'm sure there isn't a father who doesn't relish in his role, though, right? Sometimes it's a thankless job, and we probably don't get much respect for it due to culture, how they feel about fathers on the whole. But it's about giving the most love and respect to our children, and helping them become the best people that they can be in society. Um, the running joke is that I'm Kendall's favorite, I'm his superhero, and all this, you know, all that good stuff, right? But even though sometimes it's a tough task, even though sometimes I'm tired, even though sometimes he'll ask for 8 million things, or want to do 8 million things, I still try to do all 8 million. Same thing with Kai. Like he hang out. You want to hang out, you want to play video games, you want to watch movies. I could be dead tired after work, but I'm gonna make sure that at some point I'm in that room, I'm hanging out, I'm talking, I'm doing whatever the case is, because they asked, they needed it. Um and you put that cape on and you do what they need you to do as their superhero until, like I said, once that age changes, you still their superhero. It's just in a different way. They come into you for more of your experiences and your advice, because they've now gotten older and they don't need you to protect them from everything. They're going out and they're trying to see what the world, has to offer. But You being that first superhero has helped them see, like, I could make it out here in the world because my dad goes out and he makes it out here every single day. With that being said, um, you know, positivity is always at the forefront. I'm gonna say this for the dads at the end of this episode. Celebrate yourself, right? Like I said just a couple seconds ago, sometimes being a dad can be a thankless job, but sometimes you have to celebrate yourself and allow yourself to be um, praise yourself, right? You're doing a great job. You're there for your kids. Every situation doesn't have to work out with the mother of your children. Sometimes it just don't work out. But if you're there for your kids and your kids adore you and they care for you and they love you, celebrate yourself for that. If you're doing the best that you can, you making sure that they're taken care of and they have everything that they need or want, celebrate yourself for that. So with that being said, this is the I'm Not a Hater podcast. This is Fatherhood Part 2. If you haven't seen Fatherhood Part 1, I suggest you go back and watch that one. It has a special guest in it. Like, comment, subscribe. Join the movement. I'm really not a hater. I'm really not a hater. I'm just dropping jewels for, life and people around me. Appreciate y'all, and I'm out.